Have you ever stopped to think about what it really takes to be a professional? Someone you can truly trust with the important stuff. It's so much more than a certificate hanging on a wall. It's a promise made to every single one of us. So today, let's unpack what that promise is all about. I mean, think about it. It's a super serious question, right? We're talking about things with life or death consequences. And you could ask the same thing about a surgeon holding a scalpel or a lawyer making a case. So what is it? What's the real difference between a job well done and a total disaster?
Well, the answer is a promise. It's really that simple, but it's also incredibly profound. The people we trust with our lives, our health, our safety, they make a promise. And that promise only means something because it's backed by a long, tough, and intensive journey of preparation. This promise is kind of like the invisible foundation of our entire society. Every single time you cross a bridge, or you go to the doctor, or you rely on a report about the ground beneath your feet, you are putting your faith in this professional promise of safety and competence. And this is absolutely crucial. This kind of authority isn't something you can just claim for yourself. No way. It has to be earned. It's earned through a very structured, very verified process. It's basically a right that society gives to these professionals, and in return, they make a powerful commitment to protect us.
So, the big question is, how is this trust actually built? Where does it all start? Well, it begins with the first, and you could argue the most critical part of the whole journey, forging this absolutely unshakable foundation of knowledge. And that foundation rests on three main pillars. Okay, so here they are, the three big pillars that the entire journey is built on. First, you've got to get that academic qualification. Then, you have to pass a major professional exam. It's like a gatekeeper. And finally, you have to prove you can do the work in the real world, all while under expert supervision.
But let's be clear, this academic part, it's not just about passing tests and getting a diploma. It's about fundamentally rewiring how a person thinks. It's about learning to tackle really complex problems with precision, figuring out the best path forward when there's no easy answer, and always thinking about the ethical side of your work. And what's really interesting is seeing how different fields get to the same goal. Take engineering, for instance. They use a national accreditation system to make sure everyone's education is consistent and top-notch. Geoscience, on the other hand, looks at each candidate one by one. So they're different roads for sure, but they both lead to the same place, making sure every single professional has the deep scientific knowledge they need to practice responsibly. All right, so once that academic foundation is rock solid, the next phase kicks in. And this part isn't just about what you know from a textbook. It's more like a series of trials, a real gauntlet designed to forge that theoretical knowledge into practical wisdom and solid ethical judgment. This is exactly why the National Professional Practice Examination, or the NPPE, exists. And get this, it's not a test of your technical skills. Not at all. It's a test of your character. It checks your understanding of the law, of ethics, of the huge duties you have to the public. It really just asks one simple question. Do you get it? Do you really understand the weight of this responsibility? And just when you think you're getting close, the journey is still far from over. Next up is a 4-year commitment. That's right, 4 years of supervised, real-world, on-the-job experience. 4 years of having a mentor, of practicing your craft, and of being held accountable for every decision you make. This, right here, is where the real transformation happens. I mean, the classroom is one thing, right? You're solving problems where all the data is neat and tidy. But the field? Oh man, that's a whole different ballgame. Out there, you're making critical calls with messy, incomplete information, all while being guided by a mentor who's seen it all before. This is how raw knowledge turns into real wisdom. So all of this intense prep work, the school, the exams, the years of experience, you might think it's just for the person going through it, but it's so much bigger than that. It's the very foundation of a critical social contract between the entire profession and every single one of us. See, society gives these professions a pretty unique and powerful privilege, the right to regulate themselves. That means they get to set their own standards and police their own members. But in exchange for that power, the profession makes a solemn promise back to us to enforce those incredibly high standards and make sure every single member is competent, ethical, and worthy of our trust. And by the way, this structure, it isn't just for engineers or geoscientists. Look across the board at other professions we trust with our lives. Doctors, lawyers. You'll see the exact same pattern, the same DNA. tough education, long-term supervised experience, and a high-stakes exam. It's the universal blueprint for building public trust. So after all of that, after the years of school, the grueling exams, the mentorship, once a professional finally earns their license, the journey's over, right? Phew! Well, nope, not even close. It's actually just the beginning of what becomes a lifelong commitment. Because the world doesn't just stand still, and a true professional can't either. That's why getting your license is not the finish line. It's the starting line for a career of what's called continuing professional development, which is basically an ongoing duty to stay sharp, stay relevant, and always stay accountable. You can really think of a professional's career as a whole journey. It kicks off with that initial qualification, sure, but then it moves into this long phase of constant learning and specializing. And then eventually it comes full circle when that professional becomes the mentor, guiding the next generation through the same process. And why is this constant learning so critical? Well, new technologies are popping up all the time. Our understanding of ethics evolves and deepens. And competence? Well, competence isn't some trophy you win once and put on a shelf. It's a standard you have to actively fight to maintain every single day of your career. And so, here we are, right back where we started. It all comes down to this one central idea. This entire system, from the first day of university all the way to retirement, it all exists for one reason: to uphold this sacred social contract. It's a guarantee of competence, and it's a pledge to safeguard us all. Which, of course, leaves us with one last really crucial thought to chew on. This system is brilliant at building technically competent professionals, but true professionalism, that requires more. It demands moral character. So the real question is, how do we make sure this long journey builds not just skilled hands, but resilient ethical hearts? Now that's something to think about. Thanks for joining us.